Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Lindgren. Gas prices are skyrocketing across the country, and local businesses that rely on delivery are starting to feel that impact. Big Fox's Matt Kleindens joins us from Corning with more on how some of those businesses are reacting.
Good evening, Jennifer. Gas price increases have been hurting the wallets of many southern tier residents for the past few weeks. It's now trickled down all the way to local businesses when it comes to delivery.
They obviously impact us just as well as everyone else.
Local businesses throughout the southern tier are starting to feel the effects from higher gas prices. Restaurants like Slam & Jam and Barbecue have already had to deal with increased shipping prices when ordering meat.
For example, ribs went up $1.87 this week per pound than they were last week.
Felicia Bannock says many of their sales come from at-home delivery. She says if gas prices remain high, the cost may be passed on to the customer via higher delivery prices.
It's not something that we thought about going up on our delivery price, but it might be something that we have to look at for in the future.
Local restaurants are not the only ones feeling the pinch, as Northside Floral has already increased their price for delivery.
We've had to basically bring the range of our delivery area in quite a bit, and we've also had to increase our fees because we can't afford the gas.
Cheryl Gent says the increase in gas prices also impact many of her employees who drive to work every day. She says she may be forced to take drastic action if gas doesn't get any cheaper.
We may have to close down a couple of days just because the employees live so far away. I'm hoping and praying it doesn't, but it's in the back of my mind every day.
New York lawmakers are currently weighing options to lower gas in the state, including suspending the gas tax. Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Rising gas prices may not only hurt Americans at the pump, there are now concerns that it could lead to a hike in shipping costs for goods and price increases for airline tickets. Tom Bakar has more on what shoppers can expect.
Airline tickets will grow, not so much in base fares, but in the form of fees added to the ticket.
The airport fee could easily change based on the cost of fuel at that airport. They can also apply fuel surcharges.
It currently costs $36,000 to fill a 737 airliner compared to $24,000 a year ago. Splitting that extra $12,000 over 140 seats, the airline must get another $85 per seat to make up for a tankful. So, if you're on a 2-hour flight, that's an extra $10. $20 to $30 going coast to coast.
So the bigger the airplane, the worse the problem gets.
FedEx, UPS, and DHL have had fuel surcharges pre-programmed into their rates for years. Nonetheless, FedEx has already added more surcharges applying to international shipments depending on the destination. That does not include increased fuel costs for their massive ground delivery fleets. In the last year, overall air freight rates between Asia and the West Coast increased 196%, 241% higher for the East Coast. Truckers and trucking companies, that's an industry that hauls some 80% of all goods to market. They are stunned.
The national price of diesel fuel went up about 75 cents. California, a little bit less, about 68 cents just in 1 week.
Increased fuel surcharges are unavoidable.
Fuel is our second biggest expense after, our employees, the labor.
Ocean shippers buy fuel not by the gallon, but by the ton. Now $1,000 a ton, up 84% from a year ago. These price levels are unprecedented. Container shippers have yet to impose fuel surcharges, but even though they are already under federal investigation for cartel-like price spikes and collusion, they still could.
A lot of the supply chains are so fragile right now, any other impact and, a potential fuel shock just adds to the woes of anything that has to do with moving the goods.
The TSA is extending its mask mandate on flights until April 18th. The mask requirement has stayed in place even after the CDC announced a shift in COVID-19 guidance in February, saying most people are safe without a mask in indoor settings. The requirement was set to expire on March 18th after having been extended twice before. Watkins Glen police are reminding drivers to obey all parking rules in the village. In a Facebook post, the police department stated that illegal parking on handicap spots, sidewalks, and loading zones will be enforced. The department says that while it's sometimes inconvenient to park legally, it's necessary to maintain local law and order in the village. Anyone with concerns is asked to call the Watkins Glen police chief. It's official. The United States is sending more help to Ukraine as Russian forces continue to bombard the nation. Lauren Blanchard tells us the House passed a fresh funding package with nearly $14 billion in aid.
Vice President Kamala Harris was in Poland today meeting with some of the Ukrainian refugees and promising more American aid.
We will give another $50 billion, the United States will, through the UN's World Food Program, to assist with humanitarian aid.
Amid a dire humanitarian crisis, Vice President Kamala Harris thanking Poland for taking in 1.5 million refugees. Alongside the Polish president, Harris reaffirming America's commitment to defend NATO and its allies, a day after the U.S. rejected Poland's plan to provide fighter jets to Ukraine.
The United States is prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory.
The number of refugees crossing into neighboring countries topping 2.3 million. Once across the border, they face uncertainty. Some of the refugees who fled here to Krakow, Poland, just wanted to get out of the line of fire. Now they have nowhere to go, seeking shelter in places like this train station. Meanwhile, Russian troops continue their assault on Ukrainian civilians, including a deadly airstrike on a maternity ward and children's hospital in Mariupol.
We have lost 3 people, including 1 child, a girl. There are 17 wounded.
This as the official civilian death toll tops 500, according to the United Nations, renewing calls to hold Russia accountable.
It is obvious to us that, in Ukraine, Russians are committing war crimes.
Vice President Harris will next head to Romania to meet with their president.
Your complete forecast is coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
All right, thanks again for checking in as we take a look at your local forecast. Had a pretty quiet Thursday out there for us. Some sunshine mixed with clouds. Things will be changing up, though, as we head closer to the weekend. Winter storm watches have been posted. We'll have more on that in a second, but waking up on Friday morning to temps into the mid and upper 20s, a little bit above average. Average now is 22. 625 is our sunrise, and then a daytime high in the upper 40s in Elmira Corning, which will be about 5 degrees above average. Sunset at 5:09. We should mention, too, that this is our time change weekend. Heading to bed Saturday night, we'll spring ahead 1 hour as we enter daylight saving time on Sunday. So your sunset will definitely be much later coming up as we head into spring. So there's the extended temperature outlook. All the red and orange indicating above average temperatures from the 15th to the 19th. We're going to have cloudier skies tonight. Watch for some patchy freezing fog to develop. Some of those overpasses and side roads could be a little bit slippery Friday morning. Mild and quiet, though, for the day, and then that winter storm watch takes over Friday night through Saturday night. Snowfall potential of 6 to 9 inches. So we're going to watch these be upgraded at some point again heading into Friday. But note that Friday night into Saturday traveling region-wide will likely not be great. So Friday, again, we'll see some fairly quiet conditions. But once we head into the overnight hours of Friday, that's when the snow is expected to develop. And it could be quite heavy at times as we head into Saturday. Can start to see the makings of that by Saturday morning. And again, total snowfall amounts at this point upwards of about 6 to 9 inches region-wide. It will be enough to shovel and plow, no question. So tonight, dropping down to 27, watching for some patchy freezing fog when you head out the door tomorrow morning. Again, side roads and elevated surfaces will be a little bit on the slippery side. Clouds will be thickening up through the day. It is really Friday night is when the precipitation begins in earnest. We should mention, too, that Friday our daytime highs will be anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above average. And then Saturday with the snow, anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below average, so much cooler for this mid-March. Those daytime highs only topping out into the upper 20s and lower 30s. Again, the snow will be heavy at times here, with some blowing snow, reducing those visibilities. And then after the system pushes on through, we're going to see temps fall down to 12 on Sunday morning. Could have some icy roadways, 32 for the high, but that March sunshine is quite strong. So we will be dealing with some melting, of course. And then we have the time change Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Look what happens, though, next week. We have a string of milder days, upper 40s Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, flirting with 50 degrees with a little bit more sunshine.
In a desperate attempt to curb rising drug overdose deaths, states across the country are pushing to open safe injection sites. Gary Baumgarten has more on the proposed benefits and controversy being generated from the nation's first authorized locations as people are allowed to freely inject themselves with illegal substances.
We're now getting a look inside some of the nation's first government-authorized drug injection sites, locations meant to give people a safe place to shoot up and avoid overdose deaths.
If I wasn't here, I would have been either in the park or on the street.
According to data collected by the CDC, roughly 841,000 people have died from a drug overdose since 1999, with nationwide deaths now on the rise, increasing by almost 30% from April 2020 to April 2021. But staff at these facilities are trained to monitor for and reverse overdoses.
If they're not alive, they can't recover.
New York City is the first place to open such overdose prevention centers, with the potential for more to open across California, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. But critics question if the injection sites actually help people stop doing drugs, while others say the sites have the potential to be disproportionately located in poorer neighborhoods.
Harlem and East Harlem are oversaturated with drug treatment programs. We serve the needs of people from other communities.
The Justice Department is considering whether to make it easier for states to open injection sites, but as this initiative looks to take off in the United States, supporters point to the decades-old safe injection sites already operating in Canada, Europe, and Australia.
College basketball and NFL football mean packed houses for Indianapolis restaurants. Bianca Reyes has the story.
You take that probably to a table that's near that one?
Both anticipation and sales are ramping up in downtown Indianapolis.
We had a great week. No complaints at all. We expect to do better this week.
After just hosting the Big Ten Women's Tournament and the NFL Scouting Combine, even more fans are coming this weekend. This time for the Big Ten Men's Basketball Tournament.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be great for us here from open to close.
Managers at Goodwood Indy say they're keeping up with the crowds despite being short-staffed. They've hired several employees to be on standby for big events like this.
They'll just come in when I literally need them, like a hired gun. They're like, hey, I need you 3 days this month. They're like, great, not a problem, I'll be there.
Meanwhile, over at the District Tap.
So staffing-wise, I'm in the best shape I've been in the last 2 years. So we're ready to roll with whatever comes our way.
Managers say they were fortunate enough to keep most of their core staff throughout the pandemic.
I expect to be full house pretty much tomorrow morning hopefully through Sunday.
On Thursday and Friday, the District Tap is opening an hour early for fans. Managers say even last call will be flexible.
Obviously, if we're a packed house and we're rocking and rolling, we'll push those hours to accommodate our guests. So we'll say soft close at 1, but I expect to push it later than that.
A new study says if seniors just move around a lot, it'll help their cognitive abilities as they age. Researchers from the University of Georgia monitored the physical activity of 51 older adults who underwent MRIs to assess brain functioning. They found the brain's various networks for different functions worked better when they should and shouldn't, even from regular to moderate walking or taking the stairs. The study's published in Sports Sciences for Health. If you're doing any drinking, your brain might be shrinking, according to a new study. Researchers at the Center for Studies of Addiction at the University of Pennsylvania say drinking even just 1 to 2 alcoholic drinks a day can not only produce gray and white matter changes, but the brain can shrink as well. The scientists studied 36,000 people and compared brain scans in heavy to moderate drinkers, and brain volume was less even for 1 to 2 drink consumers, or drinking even half a beer a day. The study was published in Nature Communications. A major hotel chain joins the list of companies pausing business operations in Russia, and it may be possible for investors to buy more shares of Amazon. CJ Papa has these stories and more in today's Business Briefs.
The list of companies pulling their business from Russia continues to grow. Marriott is closing its offices in Moscow and will pause the opening of new hotels. Hilton, Worldwide, and Hyatt hotels have also paused business in Russia. The latest companies to declare an end to Russian operations: Amazon, Papa John's, John Deere, Honeywell, 3M, and PepsiCo. We're also hearing reports of long lines at McDonald's drive-thrus in Russia after the company also announced it was pulling out. McDonald's estimates it will cost around $50 million per month to temporarily suspend its operations and close its restaurants in Russia. Uniqlo is closing its 50 stores in Russia over the next week to 10 days. Its parent company, Fast Retailing, based in Tokyo, says it is temporarily suspending business in Russia. Last week, the company intended to keep stores open in Russia. Uniqlo says it has been supplying clothes to people fleeing Ukraine. And Amazon's board approving a 20-for-1 stock split and a $10 billion share buyback. The stock split making shares of Amazon more accessible for the average investor. Final approval for the moves expected at the annual shareholder meeting set for May 25th. Amazon previously split stock several times, though it hasn't done so since 1999.
The popularity of cryptocurrency has exploded in recent years. A November Pew Research survey showed that 16% of American adults have invested in or traded it at some point. That number includes nearly half of men ages 18 to 29. Now the White House is taking a closer look at the digital assets and what kind of role they might play in shaping the future of the U.S. economy. Mike Emanuel has that story.
It seems like everyone is getting involved in the cryptocurrency game these days, and that now includes the White House. President Biden signing an executive order today ordering multiple government agencies to research the digital currency and the potential role that the federal government might have in regulating it.
It's the first time we've had the President of the United States very publicly acknowledge that the U.S.'s continued leadership in the digital asset space is an important priority.
The Treasury Department and other agencies will look into the risks and benefits of crypto, how investors can be better protected, and the future impact it could have on the economy and national security. The Federal Reserve has been charged with exploring the possibility of issuing its own digital coin.
That our economy would consider also adding a digital dollar, I think, is a huge endorsement to the technology.
The move comes as lawmakers voice concern that Russia might be using crypto to escape the slew of economic sanctions imposed on Russian banks and oligarchs. Senator Elizabeth Warren is part of a group trying to put more pressure on crypto exchanges to stop doing business in the country.
You can do business in Russia or you can do business in the United States, but you can't do business in both.
The order itself does not take any immediate actions on the cryptocurrency market, but it is an indication that regulation could soon be on the way.
We want to leave you with a smile. Dunkaroos wants you college basketball players and fans to score free themed gear this March. The snack company is getting in on the action this March Madness, introducing its first ever all Dunkaroo team. Each week, they'll name an all-star dunker to be added to the team. That player will receive slam dunk delivery boxes with custom Dunkaroo shoes, a personalized jersey, and more. Fans can also get involved on the sweet deal by entering to win at dunksweeps.com. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.